Hello, and thank you for once again tuning into my podcast, Outside the Box, where me, Stephanie K, aka Stage the Coach, tries to help people see that God is definitely bigger than the boxes that we typically put him in. You can catch my podcast on Fridays at 12:30 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, some other places that I posted. But I kind of direct everybody towards YouTube and Facebook. Those are the biggest ones. You can catch me every Friday at 12:30 p.m. For those of you who don't know, I am a Christian author. I am a multi-certified life and relationship coach. I like to call myself a growth and transformation coach now, because that's primarily what I focus on whether it comes to your personal life or relationships. I can definitely help you figure out where you need to grow and how to grow in those situations to get the kind of results that you're looking for. And so yeah, I am a multi-certified life and relationship coach. I'm an author. I'm a Bible teacher. I have some other stuff going on, but I'm not going to go all into that today. And so today for my podcast, what I wanted to do is a book review. I know I talked before about doing book reviews from time to time. I want to take the opportunity to do one today. And I'm going to be doing a book review on a book called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. I want to try to get you a image of the book. I know I have it here. I just have to find it. No, not that. Okay, here we go. So it's called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus by Nabeel Qureshi. Hopefully I am pronouncing his name correctly. But yeah, so I just wanted to discuss that book. This book, I just recently finished it, and it was very, very touching to me. It definitely made an impression on me. And I just wanted to discuss it because I think it's really, really important. Some of the things that kind of stood out in the book. It had me in tears, and I cannot say I can't recall many books that I've read that had me in tears besides the Bible. I'm really thinking, but I don't think so. So for a book to have me in tears like that, shows you how impactful it was for me. And so just to give you a kind of a synopsis of the book, the title is very good title. So I actually do a writing class where I kind of teach people how to write and publish books. And one thing that I always talk about when it comes to book, doing your book cover and your title is that the title needs to really show what your book is about and stand out. And the title is perfect. Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. Like, it's very, very perfect. It definitely fits what the story is about. So it's very self-explanatory. So it's about, and it's a true story about the guy, the author, who was a devout Muslim. He was raised Muslim, and how his search for his Muslim identity and trying to solidify his Muslim identity actually led him to Christ. And so the book is very, very powerful. Like, not only is it very powerful, I think it's very, very informative because it really gives you an insight into not just how Muslims see life, but just people of different religions, how they get, and especially when they're raised that way, how they can grow up with this mindset that's very difficult to kind of overcome. And so I think for somebody who has his, say, agnostic, and they don't believe in God, or maybe they believe in God, but they never went to church and they don't prescribe to any specific religion, those people will be easier to believe in God than, especially Christ, than somebody who was raised in a particular religion, and the religion, especially Islam, which is so integrated into your culture and your family and your relationships and everything. Like, it's really in there, like with everything. Like, they have a lot of traditions and rituals and things like that's not only is a very big part of their life and their life together with their family, but it becomes a very big part of your identity. And so one thing about my coaching that I really emphasize is how the mind works, because when you can understand how the mind works, you can start to pick things apart and kind of reconstruct things. And once you do that, that is how you kind of can change your life. I mean, the Bible talks about this. It says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, so who knew all those years ago when that was written that it will boil down to the science that we have today, understanding how the mind works and how it kind of dictates our actions, our choices, and things like that. And so anyway, when you have this brain wiring of years from childhood, this habitual brain wiring from childhood to do things a certain way, to see things a certain way, to pray a certain amount of times a day, and all of that is going to be very difficult for you to undo that. It is going to be a battle. It's going to be a struggle. And let's not leave out the fact that it's integrated into your family. And so he really reveals very well the mental kind of gradual adjustment that he had to go through to even accept Christ in the first place. Like, it was written very well. You really get an insight into his mind. You really get an insight into his culture, Islam. And so I really think I like to learn. And so it really gave me a lot of information about what the experience would be like for somebody who was not raised Christian, was raised in a different religion, all the different facets that they have to go through to get to the point of actually believing in Christ. And it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy at all. And I commend him and I respect him a lot for, even being willing to take that on, because it would be very easy for some people to just say, you know what, I'm just going to go with what's easy. That's what we like to do. That's what we do automatically without even realizing that's what we're doing half the time. And so I really commend him for stepping out and really doing that. And so anyway, so in the story, he starts off talking about his Muslim upbringing, his tradition, his family, which sounds very lovely, very, very lovely family, his mother, his father. Seems like his relationship with them is very idealistic as far as like a parenting relationship. And then, and the reason why I say that is because, a lot of kids, especially American kids, you go through this phase of like, you don't want to listen to your parents. There's a lot of hostility, a lot of tension. Sometimes kids don't even feel like their parents love them, stuff like that. It doesn't seem like he ever went through that. No matter what he went through with his parents, he always had a very real sense that they loved him. That was never something that he questioned. And he didn't really seem to go through like a rebellious type of phase in the same sense that like some American kids go through. So anyway, so he had very good home life, very stable home life, very loving, attentive parents, hardworking parents. He was raised here in America, but his parents were from, I forgot what country they were from, but they were immigrants, and they were raising their children over here. And so, one of the funny things is that in his upbringing of Islam, he was taught ideas, or I would say, what's the right word? He was taught, defense mechanisms against Christianity. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but he was taught to disarm Christians. Like, he was taught things about Christianity and points to bring out and things like that as a kid. So as a kid, he has other Christian kids that are coming to him saying they're Christian. And he's shooting arrows like, oh, why is this? Why is that? Why is this? Why is that? And he would get them to the point where they couldn't explain or defend their beliefs, which made him feel justified and more solidified in his belief of Islam, because they couldn't compete with the knowledge that he had as a kid. So he was raised to refute and have rebuttal for Christianity. Like, that's kind of crazy to me, actually, that you will have a religion that's rooted in refuting another religion, but that's how he was raised. And so I'm not sure if that's the case with like all Muslims, but it definitely was the case for him. And his parents would like grill him and ask him questions and have him come back with the answers, like, so the Bible talks about make sure you're prepared to have an argument or something to say for anybody who comes asking you about Christ. And he's not Christian at this point, but that's what he had. Like, anytime he could explain everything about his religion and then refute things about Christianity. And I think it's very impressive for a kid to be able to do that. And so anyway, so he grows up and he has all these ideas about Christianity and Islam and stuff like that. And he grows up, and what begins to break his beliefs down, which took years. If I'm not mistaken, in the book, it took about 4 or 5 years, was he became friends with a Christian guy. And so when he became friends with the Christian guy, they would debate their beliefs back and forth. They were always like in this playful competition with each other, and they would debate their beliefs back and forth about who is this, who that, stuff like that. And so he would always question things about Christianity. Now, the difference between this guy and other people that he did this to was that this guy knew his stuff. Like, he was a Christian, but he knew why he believed what he believed, and he researched things and he questioned things himself. So when the author Nabil would now question him, give him the same rebuttal that he would give younger people when he was younger Christians or other Christians that couldn't answer, this guy had answers. And it kind of threw him off a little bit because he wasn't used to that. So he would just try to come back. When the guy would come back with his stuff, he would just try to come back with his stuff. And so they just had this playful kind of banter. And let me take it back. It wasn't always playful. They make it very clear that they got into some very heated conversations at times, but you don't really get a big sense of that in the book, which is, it's not necessary. So anyway, but they had this thing back and forth about Christian. Like, they would have meetings to, like debate things. Like, it's amazing. So anyway, so this guy is now giving him a run for his money. And he gets to the point where he doesn't have answers for some certain things. So the guy says, well, what it would take for you to like believe in Christ. And he says, if you could have this conversation with my dad, because I know my dad knows. Like, he felt like his knowledge was limited, but if his dad was brought into the scenario, that, he would be able to, keep up with the knowledge that the guy had. So the guy said, fine, bring your dad. So they brought his dad. He brought some people and all that. And when he saw that his dad could not refute some of the things that the guy was saying as well, that's when the crack in his armor started to develop. And so, again, over a period of years, they're having these different conversations about God and who Jesus is and who Jesus is not and stuff like that, to the point where he starts to, in defense of his own religion, I forgot exactly what happened, but then he starts to research his own religion. Okay, so the guy starts asking him questions about his own religion, because most of it up until this point is about Christianity. So when the guy starts asking him questions about his religion that he didn't have the answers to, he now goes back and starts researching things himself, finds out there's a lot of stuff about Islam that he was never told. And that not only was he never told it, but it contradicted stuff that he was told. So again, this creates other fracturing within his belief system. And then he eventually just starts praying and asking for God to reveal himself, because he wanted to know what the truth was. And then as the story unfolds, God sends him 3 dreams to confirm for him that Christianity is the correct religion. And I don't even want to say correct religion, because I don't really see Christianity as a religion, but that Jesus Christ did die for his sins, and that, if he does not accept Christ when he dies, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that was pretty intense. And it got to a point where about the middle of the book, I could barely stop reading it. Like, I was just like, I could not really put it down. Eventually I did put it down, but as soon as I woke up the next morning, I turned it back on and finished it. But yeah, so it was very, very good. And so, as he gets the 3 dreams from God, he's still struggling with like letting his religion go, because not only does he is a grieving process that he's going through, having to let something go that's been the foundation of his life for such a long time. He knows it's going to hurt his parents, and he loves his parents, and he doesn't want to hurt them. And so he knows, even in Islam, it says things about people, you can kill somebody who converts from Islam and stuff like that. So he was even a little bit concerned somebody might try to come after him. So yeah, it was very, very it's a very good, very, very good. And so yeah, so I would suggest that, even if it's, because I'm not around Muslims, and I'm not in a situation where I would have to really know very much about Muslims, sad to say. But I think even if don't have an immediate reason, it's not about for ministry work or anything like that, I think you should read it. I think everybody should read it, because it really shows the thought process, because this guy is very smart. It's not like somebody who's just asking stupid questions. Well, if God is real, then why? No, He's asking very legitimate, fundamental questions about religion, about life, and stuff like that. And he's showing you his thought process of finding the answers. And that's one thing that really stood out to me in the book because, and I talked about this in my other podcast shows, that we have a responsibility to seek the truth. And I admire him for that. And I even said in other podcast episodes, I think in the last in one where I talked about my own realization of Christ and God in my life, is that I was just seeking the truth. And so, and I said, sometimes you have to put the Bible aside. You have to put Quran aside. You have to put religion aside. If it's the truth, and then it should bring you back to it. You know, there's a saying that says, if you love someone and you let them go, if they come back, then they were always yours, or something like that. And so if you have a religion and you have a belief and you hold on to it so tightly, if you let it go, and you end up doing full circle and finding yourself back there, then you will know for sure more if it's the truth or not. But if you don't give yourself the space to kind of let it go and be open to other options, then that is when you're not seeking the truth. You're just not seeking the truth. You're seeking what is comfortable to you, what is familiar to you. Validation, like I said in the other show, a lot of times people are not seeking the truth. They're seeking validation, they're seeking money, they're seeking power, they're seeking love, they're seeking a lot of other things that have absolutely nothing to do with the truth, or can be absent of the truth. So you can have those things and still not have the truth, but you have to be looking for the truth. You have to say, you know what, even if I have to sacrifice this and that, or totally change my perspective, it's worth it to me if I discover the truth under it. And so I really like how he takes us on a journey to him looking for truth. Like he really got to a point where he just was like, I want to know the truth and I'm going to start looking. And even the guy, his friend, which I can't think of his name right now, sorry, he even said, if you believe in God, because he did believe in God, he had a very passionate belief about God, then why don't you just ask God? Why don't you just ask God what is the truth? And that is, again, something that I've always said. You know, again, my the way I became a Christian was that I just was looking for truth, and I'm just like, hey God, if you're real, I need some answers. I wasn't looking through any specific religion. I never read the Bible. I was just like, I want to know the truth, and if there's a God, he has it. And so I started looking for God and asking him questions, and I saw over time that he was answering my questions. And that's what he did. He put the Quran, his belief, aside to some degree, and was like, okay, I need to know the truth. What is the truth? Help me see the truth. You know, I want to do the right thing. I want to know who you are and stuff like that. Help me see the truth. And then he allowed himself to be open, even though he wasn't completely open, to the truth. And so he asked God to give him dreams, and God gave him a dream. Even after God gave him the first dream, he said, okay, that could be a fluke. I need another one. And God gave him another dream. And he said, okay, I got the two dreams. I'm starting to see, but I need another one. And God gave him another dream. Like, you know, and so God gave him 3 dreams. And each dream was more and more profoundly pointing him towards Christ as his savior. And, you know, it was just really beautiful. I like to see how the mind works. And so that's a part of the book that really stood out to me, because you really see the thought process, you know, especially the arguments, because some of the arguments that he had as a kid to disarm Christians was that Christ never died on the cross. Christ was not from God. You know, they even believe that Christians worshiping God is like we believe in multiple gods. I forgot the name for that. And so he was saying that, like, you know, you guys believe in multiple gods, and it's only one God. And so a lot of, you know, different arguments there that he's been taught as a kid. And so he started trying to understand if these things were the truth. And so again, the thought process, I really like that about the book. And then the seeking for truth is a really big thing to me that, you know, I advocate myself to, you know, for everybody to seek the truth outside of your opinion and stuff like that. You have to be willing to open yourself up to the truth, because and the Bible says, seek and you shall find. And if you look for God with all your heart, you'll find him. So if you're open and you're ready, even if it comes to you, I mean, if you think about it, you have to be open, because we don't know everything. So if you come into God with these preconceived notions, and then you're expecting him to refute your preconceived notions before you accept what he's saying, it's not going to work. It goes back to how the mind works. Because if you have preconceived ideas, your mind is closed, it's not open. So you have to open your mind so that if new information can come in. And so God is not going to be wrestling with you in your mind, trying to force feed information in your brain, because that's one of the things that we have free will about. He doesn't do that. So you have to be open to understanding a different perspective. And of course, it's going to be something outside of your wheelhouse. Like, really? Of course, you need to understand, your mind needs to be open to learn, because we are small, limited knowledge beings. You have to be open. There's a lot of stuff we don't know, a whole lot of stuff we don't know. And if you want to be a closed-minded person, you're just going to be a closed-minded person, and that's how you're going to stay. And so I know some people might say, well, if you open, because a lot of people are afraid to change their beliefs. And actually, it's normal. To me, it is a defense mechanism, because we need a solid foundation. And I talk about this in my book, God, Why Am I Not Married? In reason 3. We need a solid foundation of understanding to function, our brains. So when you start trying to take apart people's solid foundation of understanding their reality, there's going to be some resistance there. There has to be, because if you take that from them, they're not going to be able to function. So the brain needs it. It's just like taking air from somebody. So people are afraid to dismantle their beliefs because they need them. But you have to in order to find the truth. So when you dismantle your beliefs and then they stay dismantled, that's going to be the path for insanity. But if you dismantle your beliefs to put them back together to be stronger, then that's different. So it makes sense that people will be afraid to challenge their beliefs and dismantle their beliefs because it's scary. But if you do that to arrive at a better place, then it's worth it. So I understand why people don't want to, open themselves up to new ideas. You feel like, oh, this is going to happen, But you have to have faith to some degree that if you open yourself up and test things and question things and research things and seek things, that you're going to arrive at a place that is going to be better because of the testing that it went through. Is going to be better. Like even when they make different products and stuff like that, everything goes through a testing phase. And then once the testing phase is over, you understand the strength of something or the value of something or the weaknesses of something. And so you cannot be afraid to put your beliefs under that type of microscope and that dissection, so you can arrive at something stronger or more solid. Even if there's weaknesses there, now you know what the weaknesses are. So I commend him a lot for doing that. And then he gets to the part where he really gets to the point where he realizes that he has to let go of something that it's been such a big part of his life for so long. He struggles. He talks about grieving, and how he just grieved and he wanted to die. Like, I totally understand. Like, it's amazing. And it helped me to have more compassion. And not to say that I had a lack of compassion in any means, but it helped me have a deeper compassion, a deeper understanding of what people who are coming from different religions into Christianity, what they struggle with and what they will struggle with. And that you have to be, to some degree, very, very, patient with them, because this guy talked to him for 4 years. 4 years, even during the different conversations that we're having in the book. I got to the point where I was like, I want to keep talking to this guy. Like, because you keep having the same conversation. People keep debating, you go back and forth. I would have even gotten sick of it at some point. I would like to think I would have stuck it out there with him for those 4 years. I would really like to think I would do that. But that's a lot. That was a lot for that guy to have to keep dealing with over and over and over. And for them to be able to maintain a friendship through the midst of that is really beautiful. And I commend that guy for, and I'm so sorry I can't think of his name right now. I could look it up, but it's just going to take away from the time. But I'll look it up while I'm talking right here. So his name was David Wood. So his friend was David Wood. So they went to school together and they did all this stuff together. They had really good friendship and they had all these debates, and he hung in there with him for 4 years, which is not easy. So it lets me know, like, you really have to be in a lot of patience, a lot of, long suffering, forgiveness, and everything. Because there were times he really got mad, because at one time the author Nabil started talking about negatively about Paul. And the guy, David Wood, was like, hey, like, I really respect Paul. I'm not going to sit here and let you, discredit him like this. And so, a lot of stuff that goes into that, and it takes a lot. So it really gave me a deeper appreciation for people who do that type of ministry work and also what people who are coming from other religions have to go through. They had an interview at the end of the book where they were even talking about how some people do get killed for leaving the Islam, and they do lose their families. He was able to maintain some type of relationship with his family, even though there was tension there. But some people do lose their families. They lose everything because they want to follow Christ. And a lot of the time in America, that is not something that we have to choose between. And so it's just really interesting. It gave me a really deep appreciation and understanding. I understand Islam a lot better. And actually, I respect Islam a little bit more than I did. I will say I disrespected it before, but I have much more respect for it now because I understand these people, if they take it seriously, they're very, very devout. And you can't do anything but respect that type of dedication and commitment to your beliefs. Unfortunately, it's not the right belief in my understanding. And so, but if you can apply that type of commitment and devotion to the right belief, to me, there is no, the sky's the limit for you. And I think a lot of Christians even lack that type of devotion and commitment to their own beliefs. And so it's really nice to see what human beings are capable of, and so their whole religion is based around those things. And so, but yeah. So another thing is that he talked about which was the kicker for him, because he's going through this grieving process. Like he was actually asking God to like kill him. He doesn't want to go through this stuff like that. He doesn't want to hurt his parents. And he went to the Quran looking for some comfort, and he didn't find any, because the Quran is basically, because if they have no savior who's paying the price for their sins, the price for their sins is on them. So that's part of the reason for their devotion, because you have a lot of laws and stuff you have to follow. You have to this, you have to this, you have to this, you have to do that. And so he went to the Quran looking for some comfort because of how bad he was hurting and how bad he was grieving, and he didn't find anything but a list of do's and don'ts. And then he went to go pick up the Bible, and he said one of the first things he's read in the Bible is that blessed are those who grieve, for they will be comforted. And he just did the type of feeling and assurance that he got from that. He never felt anything like that reading the Quran. And so it just pulled him in more. And as he continued to read, the verses just really spoke to what the mental and emotional anguish that he was going through at that time. It really spoke to him, and it gave him peace and guidance and all that. And he had never experienced that before reading the Quran. And so that was what really sold him on, you know what, I'm going on the other team, to be a Christian. And so it was beautiful. And that was actually the part that made me cry, because I've been in those situations as well. And when you feel alone and you feel burdened and you're struggling and you feel so torn, to understand that you're not alone in the world, and that there's a God out there who loves you and is there for you, and that is rooting for you, and that's willing to help you, and that is going to help you. There's nothing in the world that can be a substitution for that at all. Like at all. So, but yeah, so it's a great book. Again, I would suggest that anybody read it, whether you're a Christian, you're not a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're not a Muslim. It's a very, very great book. And unfortunately, the author of the book has since died. And so after I read the book, because he died of stomach cancer. So after I read the book, I always like to go do research more when I'm reading or doing stuff. And so I go read about him and stuff like that. Then I find out he died of stomach cancer, maybe about between 7 to 9 years after he became a Christian. He has a lot of videos on Facebook of him going through his diagnosis, his treatments, and the videos are still up there. He was married at the time. He had a young daughter. He was really believing for God to heal him, and God did not. And he said, if he heals me, I'm asking for healing, but he doesn't heal me, I trust you. And I mean, it's just another beautiful thing on top of that. It's sad, and it really bothered me, to be honest with you, that he did die, and I had to kind of do some I don't want to say soul searching, but I had to kind of come to some terms with that on my own, that he did die. But that's the thing about God. At the end of the day, you have to have faith. You have to have faith and trust that what he's doing is going to work out, even if it doesn't look like it, even if you die. Yeah, because in this life is not the end. Jesus died. A lot of apostles died. And so, it's sad, but it's something else that you just have to come to a point where you just say, I don't know why he died. I wish he didn't die. But you understand the beauty of the story is that God is greater than that. God is greater than even death, or your biggest losses. Like, yeah, it's hard. I'm not even gonna lie, it's hard, but you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice about what you believe and what you want to believe. And just like him, I've had so many divine interactions with the Holy Spirit that have changed me, that have comforted me, that has guided me, that has transformed me till even when I get to those bumpy spots, the choice of walking away from God is just not an option for me. Like, it's just not an option for me. I might be confused, I might be sad, I might be angry, but I have to stay with God because I don't have anything else. Honestly, he's so much he's he's broken me down and built me back up to be a person that if I was to try to walk away from him with the person that I am, there would be nothing left. So, yeah, it's my truth, as they say. I don't like that term, but I just want to throw that out there because that's my experience. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to my show this week. Again, book review on Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. I'll put the book back up here really quickly so you can see it for yourself. It's a very, very good book. You guys make sure you check it out. Like, it's you have to read it. Yeah, you have to. So if you have a book that you feel like you would like me to read and give a review about, I will be willing to do that as well. If it's on Audible, because I don't have time to sit around and read books, I have to do Audible because I can do it while I'm multitasking. So yeah, if you have a book you want me to do a review on, let me know. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please come back next Friday at 12:30 p.m. And my next show, I'm going to tackle mean Christians. Yeah, we need to talk about those. Yeah, we do. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys be blessed. See you next time. Bye.